There's something about heartbreak that words can never quite capture. It's not just the pain of losing someone, it's the silent unraveling of everything you once built with them. Love, when it begins, feels like awakening. Two people learning each other, trusting each other, building something beautiful from the invisible threads between their souls. But love is not always light. And when the connection begins to crack, when you both reach that quiet, irreversible point where walking away feels less painful than staying, what once felt like home becomes distance, cold, final. And yet, even after the breakup, something lingers. Not just the memories, but the questions, the wondering. Did she ever look back? Does she regret losing you? Did it ever matter to her the way it still matters to you? If you've been searching for signs that she still feels something, anything, then what you're about to hear may give you the clarity you've been waiting for. Like this video, subscribe to Stoic Station, and let's begin. Sign number 1. She didn't block you. She left the door open. When a woman is truly done, when she's fully detached, she erases you, not just from her phone, but from her world. She blocks, unfriends, mutist, deletes. It's not to be petty, it's to protect her peace. That kind of silence is final. It's a boundary that says, there's no need to look back. But sometimes, she doesn't do any of that. She keeps you on her friend list. You still see her stories. She still views yours. There's no confrontation, no goodbye post. Just quiet, passive presence. And while it might seem meaningless to some, that lingering access often speaks louder than words, because silence in this context isn't always closure. Sometimes it's a silent invitation, a holding pattern, a subtle way of keeping the thread between you two from snapping completely. If she didn't block you, it may not mean she wants to come running back, but it often means she's not entirely ready to let go either. She may not admit it. She may not even be fully aware of it herself. But when someone doesn't shut the door, it's usually because part of them hopes that door might need to open again. Maybe she's still checking in on your life, curious about who you're becoming without her. Maybe she wants to know if you're hurting or healing. Or maybe she just wants to know if you've moved on faster than she has. And that alone says something. In a world where women are taught to be decisive and strong, hesitation is its own kind of message. So if she's still there, watching, waiting, not saying a word, you have to ask yourself, was it really over for her? Or is she still hoping the silence might speak for her? Sign number 2. She reached out, and it wasn't about the weather. The first time she texts again, it probably won't say anything profound. No grand apology, no emotional breakdown. It might be as simple as, "Hey, I found your hoodie," or "Do you remember the name of that restaurant we went to that time?" Something small, something that could easily be mistaken as harmless. But it won't feel harmless, not to you. Because when someone you used to love, and who used to love you, reaches out after all that silence, the weight of that message isn't in what she says, it's in why she's saying it. It's in the moment she chose to send it. In the way your name showed up on her mind long enough for her to act on it. Women don't reach back out just for the sake of it, not after they've convinced themselves they had to move on, not after they've gone through the emotional labor of detaching. So when they do, it's almost always because something inside them never fully settled. A question, a memory, a feeling that never fully closed its loop. Maybe she's not asking to come back. Maybe she doesn't even know what she wants yet. But that text, that moment of vulnerability, it's her way of checking the temperature. Is the line still open? Does he still care? Can I say something without being ignored? And the truth is, if it wasn't urgent, if it wasn't about something that absolutely needed your response, then it was about you. Not as a convenience, but as an emotional anchor she's quietly gravitating toward again. Sometimes the biggest admissions come wrapped in the most ordinary words, and if you're honest, you felt it, not just in your phone, but in your chest, because part of you knew she didn't have to say anything, but she did, and that alone means everything. Sign number 3, she wants to meet. That's not casual, that's personal. Anyone can send a message, but showing up in person, that's a different kind of exposure. It requires more than curiosity, it requires courage. Words can be edited, messages can be deleted, but face-to-face contact leaves no room to hide. When she asks to meet, it's not about being friendly, it's not just catching up. It's a decision to step back into a space where feelings once lived and maybe still do. Women don't offer their presence to men they've emotionally let go of. If she's willing to sit across from you again, it's because some part of her is still wondering what it would feel like to be around you. She wants to know if the energy is still there, if being near you brings her peace or stirs something real, if you still look at her like she matters. She's not just coming to see how you are, she's trying to see if what you were still exists between you. And when she's in that moment, looking at you across the table, it's not just a meeting, it's a test, not of you, but of her own heart. Sign number 4, you're talking like you used to. Why now? At first, it feels innocent, maybe even practical. A check-in, a shared memory, a question that leads to another. But then you notice something you didn't expect. You're talking the way you used to. The conversations aren't rushed. They unfold. They stretch into the night, picking up an old rhythm neither of you meant to revisit, but somehow did. The topics shift. It's no longer just surface level. She wants to know how you're really doing. What's changed? What hasn't? She's curious about your new routines, your growth, your struggles, and just like that it begins to feel like the version of us that used to mean something. This isn't nostalgia, it's reconnection. Because when a woman opens herself up like that, it's not small talk, it's trust resurfacing, emotional safety being tested, and maybe, just maybe, her way of saying she misses the emotional intimacy more than she misses the label of the relationship. That kind of communication isn't accidental, it's intentional. It signals that the emotional bond didn't break, it simply went quiet for a while. But now, through her words, her tone, and her consistency, it's coming back to life. Not because she wants attention, but because she still feels something when she talks to you. And if you're honest, so do you. Because part of you knows. You're not just talking. You're remembering what it felt like to be known. Sign number 5. She's still single, and she wants you to know it. When a woman truly moves on, she doesn't stay still. She steps forward. She meets new people. She entertains new beginnings. But if time has passed and she's still single, and more importantly, if she goes out of her way to tell you, that's not a random detail. It's a quiet confession. Maybe she says she hasn't found anyone interesting, or jokes that dating just feels empty lately. But behind those words is a message she hopes you'll hear clearly. She hasn't emotionally closed the chapter on you. Because if she were indifferent, she wouldn't bother sharing it. She'd be too busy building something new. She's not asking you to fix anything. She's not asking for another chance, at least not out loud. She's simply letting you know the space you left behind. It's still unfilled, maybe even still waiting. Sign number 6. She brings up the good old days for a reason. When she talks about the first concert you went to, the inside jokes that still make her smile, or the way you always knew how to calm her down, she's not just making conversation. She's reaching for a feeling that used to make her feel alive. Nostalgia, in her hands, is a tool. It's her way of measuring what was lost and wondering if it could still be found. She's not trying to live in the past. She's trying to see if what you once had could live again, now. And if your chest tightens when she brings those moments up, it's not just memory. It's something that still matters. Sign number 7. She's suddenly kinder, softer, more present. Something about her has shifted. You feel it, not because she says anything dramatic, but because of how differently she carries herself around you now. Her energy isn't guarded. Her words are more thoughtful. She listens without interrupting, responds without defensiveness, and shows up in a way that feels intentional. It's not the kind of kindness that comes from obligation. It's the kind that's rooted in reflection. She's not trying to impress you. She's trying to realign with the part of herself that wishes she had shown up this way all along. That's what regret looks like when it's grown through time, when it's no longer about fixing what broke, but about becoming someone who would have done better in the first place. She's more aware now of what you gave, of how she responded, of what she missed while she was busy pushing you away. There's no speech, no apology tour, just presence. Quiet, warm, consistent presence. The kind that tries in small ways to restore what was once dismissed. You don't need to ask what changed. You can see it in how she slows down when she's with you, how she's careful with your emotions now, and maybe, just maybe, she's showing you the version of herself she wishes you could have seen before it was too late. Sign number 8. She admits it, and you didn't even ask. There are few moments in life that carry as much weight as when someone finally says the thing they once swore they never would. It doesn't come easily, it doesn't come often. But when a woman looks at you, calm, raw, and unguarded, and says, "I regret losing you," it shifts everything. Not because those words fix the past, not because they mean she deserves another chance, but because they come with the one thing most people struggle to give after a breakup: emotional honesty. She's not saying it to manipulate you. She's not lonely and looking for comfort. She's come to terms with the truth, and truth is rarely gentle. She's likely sat with that feeling for a long time, turning it over in her mind, trying to quiet it, justify it, or explain it away. And eventually, she couldn't, because the feeling stayed, because you mattered more than she wanted to admit. It takes a lot to say those words out loud. It takes humility to acknowledge she made a choice that cost her something real. It takes courage to break the silence, not with a plea, but with a confession. And it takes a certain kind of love, the earned kind, the kind that isn't glamorous or dramatic, but deeply human, to say, "I was wrong." You don't have to say anything in return. This isn't about rushing into answers or pretending the pain didn't happen. It's about the power of truth when it's finally spoken, not for validation, but for clarity. And in that moment, the balance between you shifts. Not because you've won anything, but because she finally laid down her pride and offered you the one thing that was missing all along: emotional closure, born from emotional courage. Sometimes the apology we never asked for is the one that sets us free. Not to go back, but to finally breathe forward. Summary: that feeling in your chest isn't confusion, it's clarity, finally rising to the surface. If your instincts are telling you something's shifted, trust them. That feeling isn't confusion, it's clarity. The quiet kind that shows up after you've lived without her long enough to realize you didn't fall apart. You rebuilt. The man you were back then was hurting, but the man you are now has perspective, strength, stillness. So before you act, ask yourself the real question: do you want her back, or just the way she once made you feel? Sometimes her regret isn't a request to return. It's a recognition of what she lost and what you became without her. That doesn't mean you owe her anything. It simply confirms what you already know deep down. You mattered. And now you choose what happens next. Not from pain, but from power. That's not confusion. That's growth. That's you, finally clear. If this message brought you clarity, if it helped you see your situation through a sharper lens, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to Stoic Station. And if something deep inside you stirred, if a quiet part of you began to wonder, did she ever truly let go? Then don't rush to react, because what often follows silence isn't closure. It's the beginning of subtle tests, not born from malice, but from uncertainty. In the next video, we'll explore why she starts testing you after no contact, and how to respond without losing the calm, grounded strength you've worked so hard to reclaim. You can watch part 2 now. It's linked in the pinned comment below.